Ableism directed to persons with disabilities, an integrative literature review. This is the topic of my seminar. This research was a conjunction work of Juliana Corrêa da Silva, Luciana Maria Maia, Angelica Maria de Souza. Introduction. The participation of people with disability in society has been gaining more space in the last decades. The lack of knowledge and investment in the field of disability, as well as the lack of guaranteed rights, increase barriers and make prejudice one of the major obstacles to the inclusion of people with disability in society. It is important to consider that the obstacles are closely linked to ableism, which is also responsible for maintaining the process of exclusion of the person with disability in the social context. Ableism increases the process of social exclusion and the self-accountability of people with disability for their condition, advocating the adequacy of the body to social normativities. Thus, ableism directly contributes to make the lives of people with disability less dignified with regard to the guarantee of social rights. The objective of this article is to identify how the concept of ableism has been described in the literature. Methodology. This article is a qualitative, descriptive, and bibliographic research. Among the possible forms of bibliographic research, the integrative review was chosen because it is inclusive and makes it possible to articulate data from the theoretical and empirical literature. Obeying the first step, the following guiding question was elaborated. How has ableism as a prejudice directed at people with disabilities been conceptualized in the literature? The survey was conducted in August 2022 in database Scientific Electronic Library Online. The inclusion criteria used in this review were exclusively articles that presented results based on scientific research, publications that were available electronically, scientific articles that presented the descriptors associated with capacitance, handicap, and disability, empirical articles, qualitative and quantitative research, articles published in Portuguese, English, and Spanish, and articles published and indexed in the last 10 years. Articles that did not meet the inclusion criteria were excluded from the database. After the search, a total of 12 articles were counted, and after the analysis considering the inclusion and exclusion criteria, 7 articles were selected for the review. 5 articles were excluded, among them works that were duplicated in the platform 1, articles that were off-topic 2, and articles that were the result of systematic literature reviews 2. Below are the articles found and selected from the Scientific Electronic Library Online. Results and discussion. Ableism refers to a reading that is made about people who have some kind of disability, assuming that their bodily and/or intellectual condition is something that assumes and/or defines them as less capable and inferior than the general population. The concept of ableism aims to normalize subjectivities with the goal of curing disability rather than valuing their process of singularization and individuality, thus affecting subjects through its predominantly normalizing and rigid gaze. Ableism refers to the way of people with disabilities are socially treated, with a certain induction of the label disability, bringing the subjects closer to the demands of the movements of people with disability, to other social discriminations, contributing to the network of beliefs and practices about the bodies characterized with impairment. Ableism aggressively enabled the maintenance of prejudice and discriminatory attitudes that are responsible for the hierarchization of people according to the adequacy of bodies to corporal normativity, preventing the recognition of the uniqueness of each human being. Ableism stands out when viewed through a lens of direct or indirect microaggressions towards the others. The microaggressions involves everyday interactions that instigate and propagate the process of social inequality and stereotypes associated with people belonging to communities perceived as exclusive and socially marginalized stereotypes that relegate an acute position of social invisibility and process of exclusion. Conclusion. The first step in confronting prejudice directed at people with disability is to name and define it. In this paper, we have gathered important finds on how disability can be understood, its dimensions and forms of manifestation. The social inclusion of people with disability in the social environment depends on interventions and social changes that begin with investigation and research in the social context. The analysis of capacitism, inclusion, and accessibility in the social context are necessary for a prospection of social changes and advances in the insertion and belonging of the subject in the social context.